All right, guys, welcome to the NST game. This is the view from afar. So, in this game, we're going to be viewing what's gone down from this high vantage point where we can't see any troops or any movements. So, let me first of all ask your forgiveness because last night I did not cast. My wife and I went to a dinner theater, like a murder mystery dinner theater. And we've been talking about it ever since. My wife and I, we've been talking about it just almost nonstop. Um, it was the worst. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. So it was so bad. And the best way we could describe it was like really cringy, like just awful, awful cringy. So what we kind of figured out was that this is a franchise thing. So you can pay to get all the clues, and so without going into it, basically, um, when when we found a clue, they would give us a uh, QR code. We'd scan, and then it would take us to the website where we could read whatever article it was. And so one of them was a Vanity Fair article, and so forth and so on. And with that, my wife and I pieced together who the killer was. But the actual theater part of it, the theater part of it was, as far as I can tell, it should have been like, a detective. If you can picture like any one of the, Knives Out or Murder on the Nile, like there's always a detective there and he kind of leads the way through things. And instead, it was like this woman who had like aviator glasses on and a weird like kind of cosplay, um like like not even real material, almost like Halloween costume material, sort of trench coat, but it was like bright green. The whole thing was like, what in the? And she had like handcuffs tucked into her yoga pants, and the whole thing was like, what is happening here? And then this other woman was like, basically, just a really, really large woman who had her hair in ponytails, like two ponytails, and then had like a big spot drawn on her eye. And then, so she was a dog, but she also had handcuffs tucked into her yoga pants. And then it was like, my wife and I have talked about, we're like, how do we describe this to people? It was like, what if the B team from your high school drama club, like not the good actors, like the ones who really, you know, got into their roles and, did a good job, but like, no, what about like the B team or the C team? Like, what if they were in charge? That's what it was. It was like, it was so bad. And, I can't even express to you how cringy and awful it was. And like, oftentimes, like, I would catch the eye of another diner across the room, and we would both have this look of like, is this really happening? Like, there's, like they would have people stand up and ask them what they do for a living. And, here's the thing, like, I'm not an extrovert. I'm kind of an introvert, and I love this game and I love talking, and I'm an intellectual kind of person. So I love to break things down, but like, I'm not a public person, but I can appreciate somebody who is. Like, I have several friends who, they'd be good at interviewing people. And you know what I'm talking about. The people are someone who you want to be your MC is somebody who's comfortable socially and, can kind of like, if somebody does something awkward or cringy, they can just kind of smooth over it and laugh about it and guide everyone down sort of this social, you know, but even then, like, when somebody says something, point out the thing that's funny about it, and like, everybody has fun. This was the opposite of that. It was like they were having people standing up, and it was really awkward and uncomfortable. And then the worst part of all is that nothing that they were doing in the dinner theater region, like, we were all sitting at tables. There was like 10 tables of about 8 people each. So there's a bunch of people there. And like, none of it actually connected to the clues that we got from the QR code as time went on. So, for instance, we got two of the clues because they were taped to the bottom of our seats. Like, oh, okay. One of them was a poem from the person who committed the murder. Another one was an email that somebody, so like if anybody had put any effort into this at all, they could have written a script to like, how could we find these things? And they could have the actors. There were like 4 or 5 actors embedded throughout the room. They could have had us discover these things. Oh, it was awful. I just can't even express how awful it was. I will say this. It was almost so bad that it was worth going to. But anyway, there was a wet bar there. So that was my only salvation, was we continued to have wine throughout the night. Oh, it was so bad. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at what's going on over here. From afar, we see that Bullet Hole has taken over all of the northern and central United States. It looks like Power of Us is still at a 2-territory disadvantage here, having given away some of his territory to Arabia, who, is that their capital now? So Arabia has a new capital here. Wow. Yep. Completely relocated over to here. So Power, you'll be happy to know, if you attack him, you get a huge morale bonus because that's his capital. Which of course you need because your morale is bad, although it has been getting better. I think, I can't zoom in. I think maybe Power has jettisoned some of his people. Don't forget that your infantry eat 20 wheat a day, and they use 5 oil a day. So when you start to compound that by 10, 100, 200, that's a lot of resources used, which can starve you out, which can, affect your morale. So not sure what's happening over here. I do know that Bullet Hole was talking about giving over territories to his allies. That has yet to happen. So I don't know what's going on. It does look like there's a ceasefire here with southern United States. So this appears to have stabilized over here to whatever extent. Let's move over here and see what's going on over here. We do see that Sweet Salt here, Morocco, has lost his Ottoman territories, but he is not at war with Caucasus. So if we look at Morocco, Morocco is not at war with anyone. So it may be that he went ahead and gave them over, or maybe there was a quick declaration of war and then a declaration of peace. I don't know. But I told you, I told you so. This is a double iron. A double iron cannot remain in the hands of a third party half the map away. I thought it was pretty presumptuous of Sweet Salt to take these 2 territories in the first place, let alone these 2 territories down here. But Sweet Salt has been pretty has had a lot of gumption. Let's put it that way, and I admire that. Taking territories far, far away from the homelands and just daring anyone to take them back. Well, it looks like Caucasus has taken them back. Also, we do see that Hemland has taken these territories up here, which includes a double wood. So this formidable territory, what I've been calling the center here, now has an additional double wood and double iron. That is intimidating. What we also see here, though, is Hemland has now broken through into Morcus the Dorcas's territory. That is never a good thing. Once you've landed troops and taken, it looks like maybe 3 or 4 territories, that's not a good thing. That's never a good thing. So this is a big development. The center has broken through down here. Now, it does look like Silver Star has done a good job of attacking over and taking all of Arabia, but we still have West Libya coming in here, taking this territory, and we have Morocco over here, having taken 2 territories. And I did see some talk. It looked like Morocco was actually trying to take the double oil over here. Was pissing off Silver Star. Silver Star has not had a good day. First, an armored car, one of Benaya's armored cars, rebelled over and went over to Arabia. That freaked out Silver Star. He thought that Arabia was building cars, and that was not the case. Here's what happened. Let me just tell you what happened. So there was this armored car driver from West Libya, and his name was Omar. And Omar was a believer. He was a believer in West Libya and the whole Libyan thing in general. And he drove his car so far, and then he was rampaging through. He was just taking territory after territory. That was his job, just sort of lightning shock troops. He was going in and just killing whoever was there and taking the territory and planting the West Libyan flag. And, every territory he would see the women crying and the gnashing of teeth, the children, screaming out for their lost fathers. And he didn't care. He just drove on. He had his little goggles on and he had his little air filter over his mouth because it's pretty dusty down there. And he's just driving in his armored car. He didn't care. He didn't care at all. He's just taking oil territories over. He's moving deep into Arabia. He knows that he is basically the leading edge of the mighty Western Libyan empire, and he's just loving it. But then suddenly he gets to Arar in Arabia, takes it over, just like all the rest, murders the local chieftain, and probably hangs him in the streets for everybody to see. But then a woman is crying on the town square, and she's a very, very beautiful woman, beautiful Arabian woman, and she's got very dark eyes, but she's been crying so much that the kohl that she uses to line her eyes is streaked down her face. She's very, very beautiful, but also just very heartbroken because she's lost her husband, and her son is there with her, and her son is he has big eyes. And he's very young. He's about 2 years old, and he's also crying. And Omar sees this woman and this child, and he thinks of his own sister at home. He thinks of his own mother at home. And he thinks, we're not so different, this woman and I, and my mother and my sister and my family at home. And in that moment, his heart shifts a little bit. You feel me? His heart shifts a little bit. And he looks around and he sees the pain that he has helped to inflict on this Arabian community. And he sees this beautiful woman and he walks up to her and he holds out his hand. And this is when everything comes down, folks. This is one of those moments in time where she could slap his hand aside. She could just say, damn you. You are the invader. He holds out his hand to her, thinking, most likely, she'll slap his hand aside. But ladies and gentlemen, she doesn't slap his hand aside. What she does instead is she takes his hand and she lays it against her tear-streaked face. And in that moment, ladies and gentlemen, Omar, his heart is broken in two. And he decides that from now on, he will no longer be a part of this devastating war machine that is rampaging through Arabia. In that moment, he sides with the people of Arar there in Arabia. He sides with them. He takes that woman's hand. He takes that little boy's hand, and he says, I stand with you. He rebels against his own empire. It was a beautiful moment, folks. And then, of course, Egypt came in and killed him. So that was a big thing, though, that Silver Star got really pissed off about that. And it turned out it was really just kind of natural mechanics. I can say, personally, I have been in Silver Star's position where I see something happen. It doesn't make any sense. I get really pissed off about it. And then it turns out there was an explanation after all. So I've been there, bro. I've been there. I get it. Some other things that are happening around here is some fragmentation here. It does look like Papa Smitty is sharing. Looks like his teammates here, France and Spain, are getting pieces of the pie, pieces of the Greek pie over here. So interesting. I don't know what's happening in what I call the West Center. The East Center is dominating right now, but the West Center has a lot of talent in it, and also relationships with Sweet and Oli over here as well. So I don't know what's going on over here. But we do see some consolidation of this Western force into this former Greek region here. Now, another big thing that we see here, you might see some arcs here. There is activity going on. I can just say this from afar. There is activity going on in the British Kingdom. So we've talked about this from early on, that it's going to be difficult for Britain to hold these European holdings. How are you going to hold on to your holdings? You might have to. You're going to have to hold on very closely to those holdings, or else they won't be held anymore. But I will say, like, it does appear that Great Britain, having been AFK, was away from the game. People were reaching out and not hearing back. That's not a good thing. And we all know that things come up in life. After all, I was gone last night because of the worst dinner theater ever, ever. And we actually went on to Yelp.com and what's the other one? A couple of the review sites, and we just saw tons of that. We saw like, this was terrible. This person just had, one of them said they had handcuffs stuck in their yoga pants. That's not a costume. And it's like, it's true. The effort that these people, by the way, this was $100 a plate dinner. Okay. So it's not like, we could have gone to Pierpont's or like a really nice restaurant here in KC and had a really great experience, had a great meal with we could add cocktails and dessert for $100. Instead, like, oh, it was bad. Now I wish I had, like, I saw people with their cameras, with their phones, like videoing these people. I'm like, why are you videoing this? It's awful. But now I wish I had, because it was so bad. All right. Oops. I was talking about something. All right. Anyway, my point being that Paige too might have been at a terrible dinner theater that really was so bad that they couldn't recover for several days, and they just couldn't believe how terrible it was. Whatever the case might be, it does look like we are starting to have some consolidation of power, both from France and Smitty. We're seeing a little bit of expansion over here. And from the Northern Coalition, we're seeing a little bit of expansion over here. So things are going to be changing in Europe as we move forward. And the dynamic, the balance of power is shifting. So, from afar, here's what I see. I see the New World is starting to flex their muscles a little bit. There is a huge imbalance, though. One of their players is basically 3 countries. One of their players is basically 1.2 countries because they own this country of power. And then one of their countries is about 8 out of 10 power, maybe 9. Well, I guess it's maybe 10 out of 12. They've lost 2 of their territories. So we will say, though, Northern Canada has gained 1 territory, 2 territories, because they got this territory that rebelled over to them. And, of course, they have a lot of this AI stuff that they took over early on. So Northern Canada is doing okay, and they are the air power. What the entire New World doesn't have is tanks and artillery, because Power of Us got knocked down early and has not recovered, and nobody seems to be trading anything to him at this point, and they might not ever do it. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. I will say, we've talked about this idea that you don't betray your coalition mate. You don't backstab them, in large part because we are a community and we have reputations that we want to hold on to. There are people in this game who have gained reputations for being honorable, and that's worth a lot. That's worth a lot of coin. By the same token, if you gain a reputation for somebody who might just stab you in the back, well, then why would anybody ever want to trust you or go into a coalition with you? There is a value to being a villain. I get that. But again, I have just tried to discourage straight up backstabbing in this game. Just because, I guess mainly because ultimately we're all on the same team. We're in the same community. We are friends. And at some point, my goal is to move forward with this alliance play and really start banding together as a community against some of these other teams. I will say right now, Benaya has a team of 5 that's going into this tournament. This tournament that's starting. It's a sanctioned tournament that Bytro is sanctioning, and Bytro is giving out prizes. And also, I have a tournament group of 5. So right now, Benaya has a team of 5 moving into the tournament. I have a team of 5 moving into the tournament. And I'm really trying to move more and more people over to that version of play. Because somebody mentioned earlier that, like, wow, people are really active in this game. People are engaged, and it's true, and it's fun, for sure. But tournament play is eyes wide open, adrenaline pumping. It's like 1914 on steroids. I don't know how to put it other than that. Luckily, it usually only lasts like a lot of times the game has been decided by day 12. So it's like a lot of these tournament alliance games are 2-week games, maybe 3-week games, because it happens fast. It's 5v5. There's not a lot of AI on the map. There's some, but not a lot of AI on the map. And it's just hardcore, fast moving. It's very intense. I love it. Those of you who don't want to be involved in that kind of intense play, don't worry. We'll continue to have fun novelty games here. And also just, I'm thinking about another 500 map would be fun just to jump into and put together a coalition of 7 from this channel, people who really want to play a 500 map, and let's go kick some butt. So that'll be fun. I'm thinking about a 500 map coming up soon. Of course, we are going to move into Horse Force coming up soon. That's going to be a 100-player map. And for Horse Force, once I start to promote it, I really just want to get as many people as possible and just spam a 100-player map. If we could get 30 or 40 people onto a 100-player map, and here's the deal, we don't make coalitions. We don't even let on that we know each other, right? But we all share map with each other immediately. And we all build only cavalry. That's it. Only cavalry. And then we help each other always. We always help each other in any way we can. Like we're like this giant team of 40 people on this 100-player map. And if somebody's struggling, then we'll send all of our horses over there and we'll just but the idea is if we could just take over the world with horses. No cannon, no armored cars, no naval units, nothing, only horses. So that's our next novelty game that's coming up, Horse Force. It'll be on a 100-player map, and it should be a lot of fun. So if you are the kind of person who loves that focused, intense, and I'm telling you, there are endorphins popping when you land an attack and it works in this environment where there's no gold marks. That's what, one thing about tournament play, no gold marks. And in general, alliance play, we don't allow any gold marks because we're practicing for that tournament play. It's fun. But if you're more of just a, just having fun kind of player, then don't worry. We're going to continue to have fun games, silly games. This game is kind of a novelty game, but it's also kind of a serious game. We've seen some high-level play coming out of here. And, when we do Horse Force, I'm going to cast that one too. And I think we're going to see some high-level play out of that one as well. You can do some interesting things with cavalry. You can do some fun stuff with cavalry. So, and don't forget, you can build all the way up to level 4 factories so that you can churn out cavalry every 6 hours. I think it's every 6 hours once you get to level 4 factories. So you can really start to get that horse flesh out there on the field. So fun stuff coming up, guys. I'm loving this game, though. This game has been a lot of fun, and we are starting to kind of get down now to where we're having some key players emerging. I would go so far as to say that the center here is looking strong. The north here is looking strong. The south is buckling. I'm not sure what's happening, but I don't love this, that Morcus the Dorcas let the barbarians in. That's not great. I will say the western center is still looking strong. I don't know if they're affiliated with Page up here at all, but certainly they're looking strong, especially there were early rumors of Sweet and Oli having relationships with the western center. If that's the case, then the 5 of them together may be of the same stature as the center and the north. Now, what's going on here in the New World is anybody's guess. They are a bit of a wild card. I don't know what's happening over there, and I'm not going to reveal what's happening. I actually do know what's happening, sorry. But I can't reveal it here in this big picture view. There are big things happening in the New World. I'll just go ahead and say that. But anyway, hopefully by the next day here, by day 21, we'll have a little bit of that. In fact, I think by day 21, you'll see what they're up to, because they're up to some big stuff over there. All right, that's it, guys. Enough of this mess. Thanks for checking in. I'm glad to see you guys again here. Thanks for showing up. I'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigo.